If you're an e-commerce brand and you're spending money on paid ads to drive new customer acquisition, I want you to stop focusing so much on trying to lower your acquisition costs and do this strategy instead. Now, here at Dunk Agency, what we actually look at is through auditing hundreds of businesses, any given year, we see that a lot of brands are trying to get more efficient in their Facebook cost to acquire customers. And they do this through creative and ad copy and try and get little 1 to 2%ers to increase their profits through acquiring customers at a cheaper cost. And this is a great strategy, but it can only get you so far, especially as you're trying to actually scale your ad account, where efficiencies decrease over time as you go out to colder and colder audiences. So what we recommend is stop trying to focus so much on that and do this strategy instead. Now, what this strategy is the power of crafting offers to increase your average order value. Now, the reason we recommend this is that raising your AOV is a lot easier than trying to lower your CAC, especially at scale. And the challenge with this is that CAC is always rising. And this has typically been seen over the last 2 to 3 years post-COVID, where paid advertising costs are rising, competition has become a lot more fierce, and discounting has been hurting e-commerce brands' margins, and they get into this cycle of constantly having to discount to lower their CPA, which ultimately doesn't give them any more profits when they look at their P&L at the end of every month. Now, here is the solution. You should focus on maximizing the revenue per customer instead of lowering your CAC. And here's an example of one metric that we track here at Dunk, which is the new customer AOV, and trying to craft offers to increase this amount so that we can have more profitability and then inject more of that profit back into the ad account to acquire more customers and create this flywheel effect with our acquisition system. Now, here's an example of typically where brands go wrong, right? We've got product A at the top. It's a pink Yeti water bottle. And they will sell this and they'll price this at $50. They'll have a 70% gross profit margin, which means their profit will be $35 after their cost of goods sold and fulfillment, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this means that if they're trying to operate on a, let's say, 3x MER, their acquisition cost target will need to be $11.50. Now, why this is difficult is because that's an extremely hard acquisition cost to achieve on Meta, regardless of however much you're spending any given month, but especially as you try to scale, maintaining that acquisition cost and that MER of 3 becomes extremely hard to do. So what we do at Dunk, there's kind of two main strategies. The first one is, well, why don't we just raise our prices on that water bottle? So we lift it to, let's say, 65, and that increases our gross profit margin to around about that, 77%, which means that our profit, if we were to, have a customer come to our store and buy, they just stumbled upon our website, we didn't have to pay them to get there, would be $50. But our acquisition target would be lifted by an additional $5 that we could allocate in spending to acquire that customer, which means if we're competing against a different brand that sells a similar product, that we would have an extra $5 per customer to acquire and maintain similar levels of profitability. Now that's step number one. And this is an easy change, especially when you're starting out and customers aren't too attached to your pricing. We see a lot of times, especially in our consulting group, that brands can increase 10 to 15% on their prices and have no impact to their conversion rate at all. So that is number one that you can do, which is just simply increase your prices and have better margins. Number two is what we also recommend, which is creating bundle products. Now, we have a saying here at Dunk Agency, which is make your product meet the moment. And we do this a lot when we're thinking about our offers, which is if we're going after new customers, what is a bundle or an offer that we could present to new customers as a welcoming kind of gift, let's say, to introduce them to the brand? Now, here's an example, right? We create what we call the intro bundle or the welcome bundle. And what it is it's the 2 water bottles and an amazing Yeti cooler holder, which, these products Typically, brands have something like this, an accessories pack, where they've got pretty decent margins on them, but they can't necessarily run paid ads to them because it doesn't make sense just based on the margins and the price point. So what we do is we would bundle this. Now, at retail price, this bundle would be about $179, but we're going to create a bundle price where we discount this by about $20, right? Or $30, sorry, in this case. And that means our gross profit margins would be at 70%. Our profit, instead of being at this, $35 and $50 mark, is now going to go to this $104 mark. It will mean that we can lift our acquisition cost target to around about $35, which is definitely manageable and achievable, especially at scale on Meta. And when we break down the costs, you can see here the 2 water bottles at $15, the holder at $14, which means our profit is going to be $104. Our acquisition target is going to be $35. And our net profit, obviously not excluding cost to run the business and operations and so on, is going to be $69.50. Now, this is just a really simple and clear example, and it also makes it great in our advertising because not only are we, creating a product for these new customers, we're also giving them the perceived discount that they're saving $30 on this bundle, and we're able to spend more on Meta or Google or TikTok to acquire these customers. We get more profit on the front end, so we're increasing their LTV. And this is something that we can focus our advertising strategy on and eliminate all these other products that might be chewing up our profitability based on the acquisition targets having to be at a very strict number to make any money. Cool. So why AOV is the key growth lever? And I kind of just touched on this a second ago, but higher AOV equals increased profitability. It spreads the CAC across more revenue. It improves the cash flow for the business for reinvestment into that flywheel effect, as I touched on. More profits, more ad spend, more new customers, more LTV, more profits, and then so on. And then, lastly, it boosts the customer lifetime value. So if you guys have any questions on this, or you struggle to define a key acquisition product for your brand, and you're working on really thin margins to make your paid ads work, I would definitely recommend one of these 2 strategies, which is increasing the price or bundling. And if you have any questions, there should be a link below. You can book in a call and we can work this through together.